Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8.5, and of course we're playing as Germany. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. You're going to love all the great videos here. So, hope to see you around. Okay, we're continuing this. We don't have any real border gore. It's sort of right along the river here with Japan. We are cleaning up the Himalayan countries there. Excuse me. And we've won out there. Okay, agricultural advance. Good. More manpower. And Supreme Command HQs. Yes. Stopping that. Bridging equipment advance. Great. Get across rivers faster. It's one of my main slow ups. And let's see, carrier damage control systems have advanced. That's good. And grayed out. Let's do that. Let's also come. Well, let's tank models. Lots of improvements. Tank destroyers, assault guns, and we'll do regular tank destroyers as well. And lots of ICs to shift about. Finland. Yes, you can have metal. And assault weapons. Do the heavy armor designs. Invading, hopefully successfully, down here. Guess there's nobody in defense. How bad is not? I wanted to do this before all this. Look at all this air power here. 11 heavy bombers, 5 flying boats, 8 naval bombers, all that stuff. Before that got reshifted somewhere else once I or the Japanese take that to the shore. There we go. Ah, we've got, what's that, the Howe, 2 battleships. The Howe is a battleship, if I'm not mistaken. Heavy cruiser, light cruiser, and 6 liners. Wonder how that would do against, versus this. Scharnhorst, Gneisenau. Well, we got the Erlich von Houten battleship, so. And Graf Zeppelin. These guys are leaving fast. These are heading out. Now we need to another supply colony. Make one, have one. Sure that worked right. Yep. Supplies. There we go. Short range aircraft production. If we have any heavy assault guns. What? Make sure we're doing all the research we need for this. Global military power. Strategic bombardment tactics. Carrier air group doctrine. I know I'm doing the three carrier techs. Okay. Strategic bombardment tactics, good. Carrier air group doctrine, good. So we're doing that. Well, since we showed up here, let's no, we've got a fair amount between a few coastal battleships, pocket battleships. What are those? Categorized here for training purposes. Cruisers, yeah. Well, that's already at 40. Yeah, let's do that. No, we don't want to do this. We want to do this. These guys, I want to put these guys up here. Air intercept, passive. Yeah, that looks good. Any allied air comes in there. Put these guys out. Patrol, passive, and we're also going to put these guys out. More forward, but patrol, also passive. That way, let's enable. Yeah, that's pretty good. The Soviet Union and fuel, sure. Bulgaria, our friends, energy, absolutely. Landing craft flotilla is good. I think we've got enough range out of that. Yes, we will do battleship through training. Now, these guys are here. These are in two different groups with two different leaders. So what we're going to do is fly you up here and rebase to this carrier because it can hold one. And then we're going to come down here. Oh, we still have this guy down here. Okay, well, hey. Convoy rating. Passive. There we go. We're going to send him back. Somewhere like here, I think. Okay. Rebase, yes. And the Graf Zeppelin group here. We're going to let them take off. Except we base these up to the Graf Zeppelin. Okay, we've cut off these guys. Those are planes, so these will be an easy attack. I wouldn't call anything in Bhutan planes, but whatever. They're getting some sort of uber territorial pride support or something. Oh, yeah. Finish. Biomercenary unit. Not now. Improve security units. Great. As you can see, some of the various things, but a bunch just additional suppression, including just basic cavalry and recon type things. So all kinds of improves. Doing that, and that I believe is what is now. Yep, too far in advance. Cancel that. Really, I should never take these and just use this as grind up central. Level 5 already. Endless battles cause very little damage to us. He's already level 5, so let's take him out of the front line here. Should maybe do that to some of the others. Well, Stadler we can see about grinding up. He's just started on Thoma. I'll let these guys go a little longer before we start changing out leaders. Yeah, he can go to level 4 before we swap. Okay, we've got our police units down here now. Okay, well, let's leave one there. Well, let's go with colors. Right now, I think we're a bit off on our revolt risk because a lot of military units that are more useful somewhere else and not sitting long term in African ports. this. Police are after somebody. Oh good, flying boats, finally. So, battleship there. Going back to here. Good. Welded plate armor construction. Okay, good. Tanks armor too. Also, yes, we're right out there, but we can do this interlocking armor construction. Good. And why we don't need to make more units. Now I am gotta do some more of this stuff. Okay, yes, this is an interesting story. Okay, from Third Reich events, BF 110G4 Night Fighter lands. One of our BF 110G, excuse me, Night Fighters pursued a British Lancaster heavy bomber into Swiss airspace on the night of April 28th to the 29th. The engine trouble forced the German pilot Wilhelm Joren to land at Dubendorf airfield, where the pilot was interned. If the fighter is not quickly destroyed, the Allied intelligence would examine its Flug 220 Liechtenstein radar and Skorts music gun installation. Music, as in English, it's I don't know exactly, but I'm guessing it's like a storage music, organ music or something like that, sort of like upward firing gun or something, come in under that. This would greatly hurt us. Switzerland is willing to destroy the fighter in trade for some new model BF 109 fighters. So there's a picture of the model of the aircraft that has landed. Obviously that's the Swiss Rondel. That's the German Balkenkreuz. This is an early image I made. And that's a Swiss 109 fighter. Particularly from the bottom. But a picture, the dark bits here and here are red, sort of this color red, and the rest are white. You show off to the Swiss anti-aircraft gunners to say, don't shoot us as we approach the airport or any other time over Switzerland. They brightly colored them since they were the same. Now, we've earlier had two previous events that you've had the option, you've had the option not to, but the option to sell some fighters to Switzerland. If you did not sell fighters to Switzerland, it hurt your relations with Switzerland a little bit, but Switzerland is, and I will tell you, is currently with Black Ice program, as in a country sense, to never join a faction through diplomacy, never through this method. I'm not saying it can't join. I'm saying it's programmed to, if it ever starts moving too close to it, influenced by Italy and the United Kingdom, it will align itself like it's aligning itself towards the Soviet Union to try to stay neutral. Like I say, I'm not saying through events or through trade factions or whatever that it couldn't join one side or the other. It's drifting towards us slightly more than anybody else because we're around it, but figuring invite to faction, we're at 36, it needs to get to 15, because I don't think it can do anything more than align towards one of the other allies, maybe stopping well, how closely they're aligned to us or something may keep it from happening, but it's designed not to. So keep that in mind. But the closer it's aligned with us, the more likely it's willing to trade with us. There's, you know, good benefits to have them slightly more friendly to us than the allies. In Hearts of Iron 4, and I don't know if I will ever back to it, but I've developed a series of events that, yes, are going to, as you've seen, the new decision and event capabilities, which I have not looked into details and looking at its code yet. So I need to reprogram what I've done, but that will allow the possibility of not so much getting Switzerland to ally to any one side, but sort of break up Switzerland diplomatically. The possibility, not the, I don't like the sort of push buttons, get known results of the national focus system as it is currently in Hearts of Iron 4. Podcat really likes the idea that it's, because he, well, where I said, but he really likes the idea because players clearly know the paths that they're getting. Because sometimes, you know, I have here an event to start the 4-year program. Oh, yes, boom. Oh, Goering, I hate Fat Goering, and he doesn't have good stats. So I'm changing him back to Shacked. Boom. Oh, 4-year program goes away. Oh, well, I want the 4-year program. Let's get Goering back. Nope, can't ever get it back because it's not impossible, but extremely difficult to code through the event system. I mean, extremely difficult. Revolver Held would have, or the D-Worm, who also does some really good programming with it, would have a really make checks if you put Goring back in charge, and if it's the right years, and if it's P's, then we can almost have to do it through a decision system, or I don't know, but, you know, to then refire the opportunity to have the 4-year program start again. So it's a really difficult thing to do, and players, and I've gotten a fair amount of feedback at times about, you know, whether to do that or not. And so if they do not do it, you know, or if they mess it up or something, the players don't realize it, and maybe never realize that they lost it, and should still be having it or whatever. So Podcat's idea is as well, this is clearly marked out. You go through the national focus system. You know, well, I want to build, you know, V2 rockets. What do I have to do to get there? And they can know from the start of the game, this is the required path to get to the V2 rockets. Okay. That in and of itself is not a bad thing, and I do sort of like that. But without the new decision event thing, it's a little too predeterministic. Later on, when they did some of the DoD, the death or dishonor type stuff, there was, I think, more random chance, and I've never really gotten and played a lot with it, to like restore the Austro-Hungarian Empire. It's difficult but possible, but you know, and obviously that's a real fantasy thing, but because that wasn't going to happen. Not with Nazi Germany around, just wasn't going to happen. But the idea that if you know some of the steps that you need to take to get there, clearly that's fine. So I'm much more accepting of the national focus system maybe than I was or with this thing, but I definitely would rather have a national focus that says start working on rocket development. Okay, boom. And then now I want, whenever you do something or achieve something, I want an event to pop up. And by that, and whether, and it doesn't have to actually be an event, but I want it to be this, meaning an image with a title and with a description. Even if there's just okay down here, you know, just ignore, you know, click it to go make it go away. acknowledgement as opposed, because you've already made your choice by having a because if you notice, I have the decisions I have and a lot of the other mod makers have fire an event just because we want to, not that it has to go through the event process, but because we want to have the picture as well as everything else for immersive reasons. So I want this element to happen regardless of the means. So fire this. So start a program on it that then can say start for your plan for Germany. Boom. And then that would say put Goring in charge of it. And can have all kinds of notes in the description to say if you remove it, it stops it and whatever else. But and that's one of the things. If you hover over the national focus thing, it should have, well, it depends on how you do it, but have text below it that says requirements. You maintain the effects or something while the program's active. You need to have Goering in charge of your economy, or mention your requirements. And that's fine, and do that, and maybe again with an event popping up, have them put have that done in there so the players know what they're doing, and then have it. And I also get the idea is that you can't rush or choose all of them, but I also get the idea that, how do I put this? Real world situations is that in Germany or whatever, and there's obviously the 70-day thing, but can do a lot more than just a few national focuses. Now, that doesn't mean that if you're focusing on aircraft production and doing that kind of thing within the national focus system, that you should also be able to equally focus in on expanding Germany's navy to actually build a navy that's going to defeat Britain's navy. You can't sort of do both. There's limitations. Doesn't mean obviously with the that shipyards are different than military production. You can constantly be building battleships or something, but it's you have some choices there. But I think some of the choices are a little too hard, a little too artificial. So, sort of getting back to the focus with Switzerland here is, hit national focus, 70 days later, get Switzerland. I hate that kind of thing. Now, maybe hit national focus to start a process that could influence Switzerland. You may even have possible results are taking over Switzerland, starting a war with Switzerland, if you do this, Swiss policy. So it has sort of now, and that's, so that's what Podcat sort of wants, is a triggering kind of thing that then can start a, and is what I sort of don't like, and we do with, in elements with TRE, and I think B-ICE is more clumsy from, I sort of basically looked at it once, and I don't know how much they've changed it. For their 4-year program from Germany, it's just like every year another event fires, boom, more industry, boom, each year. Where I do have more industries at different points in it, but they're also tied to other interesting immersive elements. Sometimes it is an event, Goering travels to such and such factory on such and such date, and that's an event. Other times, hey, it's just, I found some, here's the 4-year plan magazine, so let's have the magazine show off what it is, talk about what it is, and in that event, you gain a little bit more, a couple more ICs or whatever. Not that the magazine really gives you more ICs or would, but it's just sort of a way to talk about it and a way to make the expansion happen in stages instead of either once in a year or all at once, or however you want to look at that. It happens in stages, and it's not on a programmed way. And so, like, again, to Switzerland, program it so that Germany can influence, in Hearts of Iron 4, we only have fascist yet in the basic game, can influence the fascists. Italy can influence the fascists. That then, if things get sort of messed up enough in Switzerland, meaning causing chaos and split in Swiss society, you may be able to break up Switzerland. Now, France can influence the French fascists, but they can also, through currently through events, try to stabilize Switzerland so that they can counteract it. So that France can either make the problem worse if it's like you're playing a fascist France, or even theoretically if you're not playing a fascist France, but you want, this part of Switzerland kind of thing for yourself, that you would be able to break up or influence the breakup of Switzerland. But even with those, I have programmed in random chances of, like, support for the fascist party is increased by 10% or increased by 20%. Now, the 20% is maybe like only a 20% chance to happening. So it's sort of meant that the chances of this happening, because Switzerland didn't break up, because I don't want to make you do this 9 times out of 10 or half the time, you will be breaking up Switzerland, because Switzerland was much, much more stable. And it was nowhere near breaking up. But there was a little bit of fractures, and there was also the communist fractures, which I really haven't looked at just because I'm not personally, unless somebody's going to pay me to, and if they're paying me to, I will. But I'm not really developing a mod that's for a communist Germany or a communist Italy starting in 1936. I just don't see that happening. And I don't see the French, even if it goes communist, or I could see that as a possibility. Not a likelihood, but a possibility. French going communist, that there would be enough influence that would be dramatically different than the fascist or something, that would render it, in the Soviets, so it's how you're programming it. So it's like a rare chance, and you could get and do the calculator and do the things that depending on which countries and how much and what their rolls of the dice were, to get Switzerland to break up. And then if it does, then Germany gets its part, Germany gets its part, Italy gets a little bit, and then the rest on the breakup would just sort of go to France as a protectorate ship, whether it's fascist or not. That's different than causing a war and having Germany invade and then getting cores in certain provinces and not in other provinces. There's also that option with what I've sort of programmed. So that's this is basically, this event here is, if I remember correctly, I don't think there's anything after this, is the finale of for Hearts of Iron 3 Swiss event chain. So you've had opportunities to make, to support, in this game, National Socialist Party in Switzerland. Let's look at, intelligence for Switzerland. Yes, here. So that would be the brown would be the fascist. That is the name. I don't even want to try to pronounce it. That's a early fascist party that the name that they used there, which I've never gone in and changed it, because when I was originally doing this stuff, I didn't have the. And it's also, do I want to go in and change? Yeah, I think it was more not do I know how to, but do I want to go in and make a new Swiss file? Because every new sort of common country file that I come in and add, and that name may even be coming from the D-Worms mods, but that Schemmilung, that was the fascist party from the 1920s, influenced by there. And then let's see what we can. The KKP. That, oh no, that's the. What is the little? Oh, NF. National. Oh yeah, that's the National Front. That is. Well, there was the National Front, which was the National Socialist Party. of the 30s, the National Front, if I'm remembering, and I've delved into this a few times, the National Front was actually the fascist party. I mean, not the National Socialist Party was the National Front, but the Front National was the French fascist party, the Front National, and I'm right now forgetting what the Swiss Italian fascist party, but it was the NF, and there were some other NSSB and a few other minor National Socialist Party. But now this is the Nationalist Party, if you will, of whatever, you know, the authoritarian. But this was more the, or was that a, I'm forgetting now whether this Samlung Party. No, that may have been the early name, early name of the National Socialists in Switzerland. But again, back in the 20s or whatever, before Hitler gets in power in 33, it's already gone, but it's the National Front versus the Front National versus whatever. And you can look at my Mod Third Reich events earlier in this series. I don't know if because you don't see the Swiss fascist events, but you can see the what is it, the Socialist Party or whatever this is, has a great majority. But this has now been many years since we've been influencing it. And it has, I don't know what's its national unity. But, so this is sort of the end of the chance to do anything. So we can lose some supplies, which basically will give them a fighter squadron of 109s of some kind of level. Or we don't give it to them. And when you don't sell, earlier it's sell, when you don't sell the fighters to Switzerland the first 2 times, France sells fighters and they move closer in relations to France. Again, more than likely because the way it's programmed, they won't actually join the Allies, but they'll be more pro-Allies, at least for a while. This historically happened, in 44 here, and not quite yet D-Day, but, there was, Italy was out of the war, and somewhere around here, Monte Cassino and wherever, I don't know exactly, in March 44, where the Allies were. Germany's not looking like it's come, and of course, Eastern Front not doing so well. Germany's not looking like it's going to come out on top, so you're not really going to get Switzerland more friendly towards Germany, just plus by 5, even if you do this. But if you don't, what happens here is, if you don't just get the aircraft destroyed almost immediately, like within hours or days, and I think the Germans were watching enough to see if anybody was actively taking the, because, they had operatives, including paid-off Swiss people types, actively taking the aircraft apart, though I would be surprised if no one was sort of kind of poking their noses in it and taking down some information. But if we don't do this, both the US and the United Kingdom will get an event that boosts their radar capabilities. Basically, since they will have taken apart and looked at Germany's radar systems here at this moment to actually get a good copy of it. This also presumes that Germany believes that the Allies haven't already done this, because they really don't care whether Switzerland has night fighters or not. It's whether the Allies have them. So we're going to do it. We're going to pay the supplies. They'll get another fighter, which if we were going to invade them, they can resist us a little better. But that's the story. Pilot lands. I still have to wonder whether a pilot defects, but I don't know. But pilot lands, is interred, and basically my understanding is the pilot is stuck there to the end of the war. You just get the airplane destroyed. Okay, intel cache gathered by covert. We have discovered a rather curious cache of intelligence. Our cryptologists are poring over it. Okay, good. Well, 2% of one thing, Paris region, 90%, 98% chance. No effect. And since I don't see any, let's see. In fact, I'm figuring it didn't go well. We didn't get any good information. Well, I'm mentioning electronic. Yeah. Entry radios. So that concludes our Swiss event chain for this game. I'm really proud of it. It was one of my early sort of big, long event chain research, helped out by a couple of Swiss people, a little bit, I forget their names, screen names way back when. Before TRE was ever really publicly announced, and I was talking to a few people about some stuff. Okay, coal to oil conversion has advanced, so it's 12%, and if we do one more, it's 15, so that would be 3% improvement. Great, nice, good, minor, but great, nice, good. And industrial production has advanced. Oh, yeah, it's here. Okay, so it does cost us some efficiency, but the efficiency will see it. The improvements versus, I get the idea that if you just spanned out industrial production without doing the other one, it's meant to sort of balance, so you can't just, so it doesn't, it takes two to keep these sort of going back and forth, I guess is a good way to look at it. Let's do guided bombs. Oh, and what are we still doing that is, oh, tank or truck prime mover. That would be here, I believe, yes. Good. And let's also do some. Okay, well, we've won those battles, so let's, you attack there, you attack there. Got a border now established here. Unfortunately, we didn't get to the port before them and the oil there, but oh, they're bombing us. Okay, well, we're gonna go back to Singapore. We don't really want to be bombed. I got my air set up around Singapore that should, yes, you may have metal, that should take care of us. Snow eases off, okay. Oh, whatever. Then maybe in India that doesn't really affect us much at the moment. I do think Revolver Held is doing a great job with his new events, as well as the ones here. But really hard to program or make events for this time period. Because I'm talking like 44. Because what are you doing, you know? Germany was losing. So events that focus in on that, you can sort of make by, you know, Soviet Union controls X territory and Britain controls X territory, or Germany does not control some territories, you know. And then you program in something that's sort of historical for that. But once you get to this, everything's changed, you know. You can't do too much of the historical stuff. It gets hard. And then you also have the waste of it, meaning even if you do program the stuff in, and this is one thing that, again, if somebody's going to pay me to make TRE or something, I'll make it, so long, you know, I'll make it good, and so long as it's good, and so long as it's reasonably valid, I'm happy to make it. But when I'm making it sort of for myself and for you guys to play it, I have a tendency to make it for the way I play, meaning I would be willing to, especially in a multiplayer game, play Germany down to defeat, or a reasonable defeat. I don't know if, you know, you got to actually take Berlin, but to some point that we go, yeah, you know, you've made it, you know, you've made it to the Rhine River, and you've made it to the Oder or something like that, or whatever it might be. You know, yeah, game's gone on long enough, you've won. I give up. But I, as a player, I don't. If the game's going that badly, I lose interest in it, you know, just as a pure player. And we're going to save our money for this one. And we don't need this. Don't need that. And okay. So if we're going, you know, so I lose interest in it. So I have not made events covering Germany going down in defeat. Because it's like, again, the way I play. And I also sort of presume most of you, starting a 36 scenario game, aren't going to play Germany down to defeat. Now, I do have, because Vlad Virgil made some stuff covering Romania and the Southern Front's defeat, so the various German allies, including Finland, switching sides, changing under certain conditions, will happen. And when Revolver Held or somebody else makes some events covering Germany going down defeat, is very valid, because if I'm playing as Britain, the events still affect the game. So that is useful, but just, I sort of have to wonder, would it be a waste? You know, do I spend many hours making, because this I'm presuming from Alexei, because he used it several times. I don't think he made this image. I think he found the image. You know, obviously it's the photo. It looks like it's Southern Europe, maybe Northern Tunisia kind of place. You know, mostly dry, flat lands. And you got some paratroopers. Really nice photo. I think it's an original color photographed and not a colorized photo. But I don't think he's put this metal and postage stamp and photo down here. If he did, very good work. It's very nice, very nicely done. But I just have a suspicion he didn't, partially because he didn't write, you know, 5th Fallschirmjäger Division or something across the top. That would have looked good, maybe in white or black or something across the sky there or something like that. But and we've seen this more than once, but obviously you could just add that several times. But I'm guessing he didn't make the event image. But do I lovingly make event images that 95% or more of the players will never see, because either they don't play the Germany down in defeat, or if you're playing as Britain, you wouldn't see the event image. That's why there are a few images, like I super motorize all of the U.S. standard HQs, you know, the ones that you just get sort of, you know, standard generated stuff, HQs for the U.S., because you can see here, you see Mercedes staff car, yes. Tetra supply trucks, yes. But Detroit Motor City, no. Only the U.S. gets that tech, and it has an event. And I think it uses maybe the Tetra supply truck image, but so that because they're super motorized, because the U.S. for its supply and support had massive amounts of motorization. So it's a super fast unit. It's basically as fast as the motorized HQs are, or whatever. You know, I mean, it's not like something and maybe not even quite as fast as it, this, but they're faster than standard just because all US. But see, I didn't really care because making it for somebody playing as Germany, I just wanted the effect. That's sort of the thing. Now, of course, if you're playing as the U.S., you'll see a funky picture, but you'll get the thing. Okay. The 5th Fallschirmjäger Division was formed in Reims, France, in March 44, where when the Allies landed in Normandy, only the Fallschirmjäger Regiment 15 was combat ready, so it was transferred to the front and attached to the 17th SS Panzer Grenadier Division, Götz von Berlichen. In July, the division suffered heavy losses, and in October, it was rebuilt in Den Haag, Amsterdam area, and it surrendered. Now, I do sort of like the idea that they give sort of what happened historically. That matches with my sort of mission of education for TRE. Obviously, this is units of the Third Reich, but I often wonder how much later info do you give to break immersion. I don't know where the line is always. Okay, so yes, we'll take this, and obviously we have to, or leave that up there forever. I think that shows up in Berlin, and we now have another division. Okay. Did we lose him from? No. Okay, we have a bunch more here that we're already waiting to use. That we're going to have a lot of really good Fallschirmjäger units. Oh, I don't know, maybe to invade, say, Britain eventually? Okay, and we have fighter training now that we're in 44. What are our coastal battleships doing here? They're just meant to be protecting this area. Beating up on any small area and have a bunch of air support in case something big shows up. Expand air bases, no need. Okay, shipbuilding techniques advanced. That is good. And U-boat building. Those should all be reducing down production times. Now, we still haven't gotten to more jet tech, so I guess we're waiting for that. I think some of these are a bit slow because by April 44 we should be able to be building. Well, maybe I delayed some of that. Jet techs. Well, and heavy bombers, like I say, we only have 3 of those. Let's do this. Airborne assault efficiency for all those airborne divisions we've got. A lot of upgrades. Okay, good. We're almost getting some of our mini plethora of. These radars are for the East Front as well. Need to look deeper into the Soviet Union. I'm right now only either emergency builds or something given by event I'm going to put up as priorities just to get those built, finish building whatever. Otherwise, just waiting for the air and other units to sort of cycle out through to get. So we got another light carrier. Now I was reading and I looked here. Okay, good. Yeah. Here, this is sort of slow, but it's down with the speed of the transports, but also the Whooper, the aircraft carrier. and just been other. I read all kinds of things and go down all kinds of weird paths. But reading about in the U.S., there were two types of CLVs, light carriers. There was some other oddball stuff, but two main types. One was sort of a slower, sort of, a 22 knot type, slower carrier class, and I forget the name right offhand. And that was really done very much to support convoys. And so you didn't need to go faster than that, partially. And also you didn't need to, but also parts of the hulls that they were building the stuff on. And they were really good. And actually, I think sort of the better organized light carriers that America had for convoy protection and that kind of thing. And yes, it could be used and were used for other things, supporting, some of the various Allied landings in and around the Mediterranean, whatever else. But they also had the Americans also had an Independence class carrier, and it was built on light cruiser hulls that were already in production for American light cruisers, and mainly those were done for speed of getting them out there. Now this is when they were thinking it was going to take 2 years plus to build any more carriers, and this is just after the start of the war, or just before the start of the war, just right around that time. And they were realizing that things were coming, and they thought, now they were able to get some of the better carriers in production, started production, and out much sooner, almost like half the time they thought, like in only a year or something like that. But they really thought that there was going to be and they were, this was some of this was definitely because they ordered them several batches, taking the hulls that were already under production and converting them to these fast carriers. Post some of it did, I know, happen post Pearl Harbor, but they were really worried that, well, hey, okay, yeah, they survived Pearl Harbor, but the next carrier fleet action, they may get sunk, and Japan would be the only one with carriers out in the Pacific, so that's why they were really rushing these things. But these Independence class carriers, like I say, were built on cruiser hulls, so they were really fast. They were as fast as any other fleet carriers, and so they could keep up with the regular battle fleets, and so they were very useful. And but they sort of maxed out at 34 fighter type craft max at any one time. So they were small but fast and rather effective in that. Okay, the 22nd SS Freewheeling Cavalry Division Maria Teresa formed in May 44 from the SS Cavalry Regiment 11. Or I wonder, well, maybe. Wonder if it, because see, yeah, I'm also sort of picky and sometimes, because they definitely, I'm trying to remember, because I wonder if it's the from the SS Cavalry Standarten 17, which is sort of equivalent, but not. Some of that is still coming off of not so much Waffen SS, but even this late date, just Allgemeine SS out of these type of units. Now this is the Rich Schulen Munich, but there was these other SS Reiter units, Ritters, around at this part. So in September 44, as part of Kampf Group, the division was sent to Romania, fighting until, being encircled, one part managed to fight its way to the Armas River, swimming across and rejoining German forces. Another part survived behind enemy lines, rejoining German forces on October 30th. The division was then sent to Budapest in November 44, where it was again encircled and by this time completely destroyed. The division name referred to Maria Theresa from the House of Habsburgs, who ruled Austria, Hungary, Bohemia in the 18th century. And that's sort of the interesting part to all this. Sort of, because you remember me talk about Himmler liking esoteric leadership names. And quite possibly the 17th Cavalry Regiment may very well have been an Austrian-based unit. But Hitler loathed basically the House of Habsburg, because the House of Habsburg was an internationalist ruling house, and he was a Germanist. You know, because the House of Habsburg was happy not just ruling over Austria-Hungary and Bohemia in the 18th century. Well, in the 17th century, they had also ruled over Spain and the Netherlands and other places, you know, in the Americas. So, you know, they were, including moving, basically, to some degree, moving their capital to Seville or wherever over here. So, the Habsburgs were not Hitler's favorite monarchist thing. He definitely wanted to do away with the monarchists because he thought they were old-fashioned, corrupt, I don't know what you want to term, you know, out of date with sort of modern National Socialism for sure, but still sort of respected as a, shall we say, a cultural legacy. So princes, dukes, and other people from the old German aristocratic thing still had respect within the new order, but they were no longer to be the rulers within it. You know, sort of, yeah, your ancestors did some cool things, but we're the new elites of the National Socialism kind of thing. And so, yeah, so we, of course, want this. Did this go on the map or in the production? We got lots of... Oh, on the map. Okay, so... I guess that's the historical leader. Cool. We will send him over here to be part of our SS army. Not yet an army group, but definitely an army. Oh, my big fighter groups here. Okay, they're still operating at good levels. Oh, no order. Okay, you come up here. Air superiority. Yes, good. Because we want to win the air war now. So yes, now we're getting a lot more into production. That probably also means we have some subs. 2 carriers, the Peter Strasser. Another light carrier. Well, this one I think is good for here because although we have the Graf Spee, the Deutschland, and some other good pocket battle cruisers, this is getting ready to be, or maybe some going after the Shetlands and these Faroe Islands and whatnot. They're getting ready to head in that direction. This fleet down here, is it? No. Well, this fleet. They need to come up there. I think that could use the Peter Strassers, give it a proper aircraft carrier, not a light one. Even though they will often be moving at the slower speeds for their transports that they're doing. So, that's good. I think we're going to end the episode here. I want to thank everyone for watching. I want to thank you for liking the videos. I really do appreciate that. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Really would appreciate that. You'll hopefully enjoy your time here. And of course, please post questions, comments, suggestions, corrections. I really do appreciate those. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.